Hey everyone, it's Ryder from Skip. Big news today. First, there's a $200,000 grant that is due this week. There's also additional $35K and $15K grants. I'll tell you who's it for, how you can apply, and how you can get tips on applying successfully. Plus the latest news on FTX. Sam Bankman-Fried could face years in prison. I'll tell you why he hasn't been arrested yet. And the latest from his interview over the weekend with the Wall Street Journal. It's pretty unbelievable. Plus, I'll give a quick outlook on the economy, the proposed interest rate changes next week, what that means for inflation, and what that means for you as an individual and small business owner. And finally, I'll give you the good news on the Real ID deadline, why it's been changed yet again, and what that means for you. So let's dive right in. So thanks as always for subscribing, turning on alerts, and do us a huge favor and hit the like button, because tomorrow and Wednesday this week, we are doing 2 YouTube lives. Tomorrow, a very special announcement, our winter 2022 product release happening right here, 3 p.m. Eastern. And on Wednesday, we are having a director at the SBA join us to talk about the latest COVID EIDL and EIDL news. There are some new changes there. So the director is going to come on live. So be sure you're subscribed with your alerts on to join us for that. Let me start with the SBF news from CNBC today. Sam Bankman-Fried could face years in prison over FTX's $32 billion meltdown if the U.S. ever gets around to arresting him. Incredibly, he has been doing a media blitz, talking to the New York Times, the Wall Street Journal. He's in the Bahamas, has not been arrested yet. Here's a clip from his conversation he had over the weekend with the Wall Street Journal.
I think that what a lot of people are struggling with here is that, you were an MIT physics major.
Yep.
You are, by all accounts, a very smart guy. How is it possible that you overlooked this more than $5 billion problem?
I ask myself a lot how I made a series of mistakes that they don't just seem dumb, they seem like the type of mistakes I could see myself having ridiculed someone else for having made. The kind of mistakes that I would have considered myself to have been above.
These are unbelievable interviews that are definitely giving prosecutors more to work with. Of course, there's what looks like is definitely gross negligence and likely fraud. It seems like Sam Bankman-Fried is trying to change the narrative and say, hey, this wasn't intentional. I didn't mean to commit fraud. At worst, it's gross negligence. So I think that's why he's doing this media tour. A lot of people are asking, why hasn't he been arrested yet? $32 billion meltdown. Millions of folks across the U.S. are affected by this and have lost substantial money. In some cases, most or all of their savings. According to this article, it could take months, if not years, to fully assemble all the evidence. And again, here's the new narrative Bankman-Fried is trying to spin over the past couple weeks, that he was simply an inexperienced and novice businessman who was out of his depth, didn't know what he was doing, and crucially, didn't know what was happening at the businesses he founded. In fact, that's the narrative he did in this interview, claiming he hardly knew anything about Alameda Research and how that business was operated, even though he was a 90% owner. So what do you think about this alleged fraud? Leave it in the comments. Would love to hear. Again, it could take months or years for him to be arrested and charged. On the economy, the November employment report came out last week. The U.S. economy added 263,000 jobs. Here's how that looks over the past 2 years. The jobs market is still strong, but one big question from this is how long this strength can last. Cracks are emerging. We've talked about a lot of the tech layoffs over the past month. There are also a lot of layoffs in the entertainment and real estate sectors. Firms in retail and warehousing are also cutting jobs this holiday season, and economists expect that higher interest rates will trigger more widespread layoffs, and some forecast a recession in the next year. And of course, that's for folks who don't already think that we are in a recession, which many economists believe we're already in. And again, there's a lot of factors at play here, but one of the main factors is the inflation rate. That's why when the Fed meets next week, they're going to raise the interest rate by about a 0.5 percentage point. That's what's expected. However, Jerome Powell and the Feds have recently signaled that they'll continue to raise rates going into 2023. And here's the reason why they're going to do a smaller rate increase next week, because it takes time for interest rate changes to slow the economy and even longer to influence inflation. So Powell said, if you're waiting for actual evidence that inflation is coming down, it's very difficult not to over tighten. So he thinks slowing down at this point is a good way to balance the risks. Don't raise the interest rate as high, and wait and see if inflation comes down, which is a lagging indicator. And if it doesn't come down, the Fed may again decide to continue to aggressively raise rates. Okay, before I talk about the new grants, some good news was announced by the Department of Homeland Security today that the Real ID full enforcement deadline has been pushed back yet again. It's already been pushed back twice because of the pandemic. For those of you who fly, who haven't upgraded your driver's license to the new Real ID, you now have until 2025. The previous deadline was going to be May 2023. Now it is May 2025. An additional 24 months to comply. Honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if they delayed it again, of course, because we help so many people with the DMV as well. We wanted to share this news. A poll we did around a year ago was that around 40% of people had already upgraded to the Real ID. We'll run a new poll later this week, but chime in the comments. Have you already gotten your upgraded driver's license or not? Finally, this new $200K grant, it's for Black entrepreneurs. This is from the 15percentpledge.org. Let me read to you what it's about. Black entrepreneurs start their business with about $35,000 of capital, while white entrepreneurs start with 3 times more. As a partial consequence, Black-owned businesses report higher levels of debt relative to revenues. Over the past 2.5 years, the 15% pledge has been working alongside major corporations to reevaluate their organizational structures, funding streams, and supply chains with the goal of creating greater equity for Black businesses. So they're working to bridge this gap, and they're also giving out grants. They're providing a $200,000 grant to unlock the next horizon of growth for a Black-owned business. 2 additional finalists will receive a $35,000 grant and a $15,000 grant. Awardees will be announced in person at our 2023 benefit gala in February. So we've put up a post that summarizes this grant opportunity. The link is in the description. You can quickly add this to your Skip funding dashboard and then go to the application. You first need to verify your business details to make sure you're Black owned. They have a few questions around that, the current state of your business, where you're located, how many employees you have, and what your revenue is. Then you can apply for the award application. And it's important to note, you'll need to do video responses for this. So you need to introduce yourself and tell us your story. Tell us about your brand and the uniqueness of your products. Tell us about important milestones or accomplishments since you started your business. What are your intentions to grow your business over the next 12 months? So because they're asking for videos, I think the odds will be better for you if you enter this. It's also a great chance to practice how you convey yourself and your business in video. And we're going to do a video training session in the next couple days before the deadline. If you want to join us for that, go track your grant. So for those of you who track your grant via the Skip dashboard, we will invite you to a video training session in the next couple days in the hopes that one of you wins either this $200K, $35K, or $15K grant, because it's due this Friday, December 9th. Again, link right in the description. Most importantly, thanks for liking this video, subscribing, turning on the alerts. Stay well, stay healthy, and I'll see you in the next video.